Hello, everyone. Welcome to Around the Jungle. My name's Evan. I'm joined with Zach. And free agency starts in less than a week. The legal tampering period opens on Monday. And the Bengals have a pretty big offseason on their hands and are going to be needing to do a lot of work in free agency. So for today's episode, we're going to be giving a few players that we think the Bengals should target and guys that we think will get this team back on track. But before we dive into all of that, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy and want to see the rest of our off-season videos and coverage, because it's going to be a busy time. Hopefully, the Bengals are pretty busy here in the next week or two, and we have a lot to talk about. And then to follow us on Instagram and TikTok and X at Around the Jungle. So without further ado, Zach, who is one target that you want the
All
Bengals
right.
to sign here in the next week?
So, I will preface and say that I don't think that we will sign m- m- what's the word I'm thinking of? Or I'm wanting to think of. Optimistically, I think we sign maybe one or two of these guys that we're going to name here, in all reality. But I'll just start with that. So let me just let me confirm something real quick. Um, Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. So the first
Oh,
guy,
before you dive in, real quick, sorry, the Bengals have a little over $47 million in cap space. So
I thought it was like
that's what they
70,
have.
or I guess that 47 after we paid our contracts, like to the guys that we brought back.
Yeah, it was 50, and then with the Riser contract, it went down to 47. So they're
Okay.
still they're still in the top 10. I
Yeah.
think they're right
Well,
outside
that's
the top 5 in cap space.
47 million is more than enough to do what I
Yeah,
think
it's
we
manageable.
need to do. So I think we got plenty of money. That's a good amount of money to work with. Um, I'm gonna just maybe throw out two more so maybe dream scenario type of guys. We're not going to get either of these two guys. And also, if we did get even one of these guys, we would we would probably start running it a little tighter than we want to, just for the sake of the rest of our team. So I'll just start with two dream scenario guys, and then maybe we'll get into the more realistic ones. But first of all, Tyler Linderbaum. That guy would be awesome. He's
Yeah,
been a unit on the Ravens for a very long, or not a very long time, but he's been a unit on the Ravens throughout his rookie deal. Dude's 26 years old, so he's very young for an offensive lineman. Um, his pass block win rate is 97.2%. That's tied for second in the entire league among like centers. So the guy's a unit. He's a great pass protector. And we knew that he was going to be a stud when he was in the draft because he was actually a guy that I said I would have wanted the Bengals to draft. And I'm not saying that because I don't like Ted Karras. I think Ted Karras is a very good offensive lineman, but he's 32. So, there's always, I just think it's always, a situation when you got a guy like that, maybe you can you look into just taking like BPA, and offensive line's always been a position of need. And the other thought that I had was Ted Karras, I do believe, does have experience playing the guard position. He's a he's got good experience really at any of the interior line positions. So, maybe in a dream scenario, you take a swing on Tyler Linderbaum and then get your center for the next 8 years, and then you shift Ted Karras over to guard because our interior guards are not the best. So, but like I said, maybe just a dream scenario. That's not going to happen, but I think that would be an interesting, and maybe in some sort of some sort of dream world, maybe the Bengals take a swing on him, and that kind of maybe could fix the interior offensive line woes. But the other guy that is just also a dream scenario, Jalen Phillips, Eagles edge. I don't think the Bengals are going to swing that big because he's going to be expensive, and I just don't think they're going to do it. He's 27 years old. Uh, he's been he's been a cornerstone starter for the Eagles defense for a pretty good while now. Known Eagles defense, it's very tough up front on the defense. 6'5", 27 pressures, 28 sacks, or no, 150 pressures career, and then 28 career sacks. Guy's a stud. But I think he'd be probably more on the expensive side of things because of that fact and because he's only 27. But, that would just be maybe another dream scenario. Those are the two guys that I thought would be like, man, that would be great in some world where the Bengals have maybe a little bit more money and two actually get off their butts. So, you know.
Yeah, Linderbaum would be pretty awesome, but I don't know if that one seems might be a little tougher to get because I think he's going to be resetting the center market.
Yeah, it's not
From
going
what
to
I've
happen.
heard, and I'm sure the Ravens probably don't want to let him go, but that would be pretty awesome. If you're trying to make a splash free agency signing, that would definitely be the one. I'm gonna go for my first free agency pickup. I'm gonna go with Chargers edge Odafe Owe, who was formerly with the Baltimore Ravens and got traded to the Chargers midseason. Once he got to the Chargers, he racked up 27 pressures, 7.5 sacks, had a 78 overall PFF grade. He's only 27 years old. He is kind of a little bit more on the expensive side. His projected average salary is about 19 million per season, and so this is one of the guys that James Rapine was talking about he put out a video a few days ago talking about some free agents, and he kind of framed this as, kind of a Trey Hendrickson type move where it's a guy who's heading into his second contract, who's kind of under the radar and has, had decent success, but hasn't gone crazy. And then in his second contract, he kind of gets a little bit more money. And then, turns in hopefully to the guy that Trey Hendrickson which was, top 3 edge rusher in the league. And so I think a guy like Odafe Owe would be worth the 19 million and worth a swing. And you're hoping that, with Jerry Montgomery, and with us, the defensive line coach, you can continue to develop him. And he played for the Ravens and the Chargers, who are both pretty good defenses. So he has, experience playing on good defenses, and he can bring that to the young defensive line room that they have there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he could be a good underrated signing, and probably be one of the more expensive ones, I would say.
Yeah.
Out of the guys.
Yeah, he would be he would probably be the number one on like the realistic list. I think he'd be
Yeah.
a really good pickup for sure. I think another guy that you also mentioned, but I'm going to take this one. Another guy that would be great in the secondary, Brian Cook. He's a Bearcat. It just makes sense. Second round picked out of UC. He's been a monster for the Chiefs in their secondary ever since he's came in the league. He's been a very, quality player. He's only 27. He's had in last season he had 6 pass breakups and played about 83% of their snaps on defense. So he's on the field dang near the whole time when they're on defense. 6 pass breakups, that's pretty solid, I think. I mean, it's decent for a safety, but I just think that he would just make sense, he's a high quality player in the defensive back room where we have solid young pieces. I like what we have I like DJ Turner at corner. The other corner spot is, Josh Newton is shown talent, but it's just, I think our corners are workable. If you want to go out and get one in the draft, or if you want to get a guy who maybe would be a little bit cheaper and maybe a veteran corner, I think that'd be great. But I think our corners are workable. Our safeties need work. I would say our safeties need some immediate work. Jordan Battle is really about the only one we have. And Jordan Battle is good, but you need more than one safety. And I think Brian Cook would be a huge addition because he kind of brings that veteran experience. I mean, he's played for Kansas City for his rookie contract, and he's won, what would that be, 2 Super Bowls with them? So, I
I think
mean,
so, yeah.
So he's got all the experience, and he's only 27. He's played in big games, and I think that's something that the Bengals should consider looking at too, because I think, you know, in 2021 we went out, some of the guys that we went and got in free agency, and even in the draft with Jamar Chase, we brought guys in that had played at big time levels. Like we had guys on our roster that had been in bigger moments, I would say.
Yeah.
And we don't have that at all right now. So I think it would be I think Brian Cook just really makes sense with him be winning 2 Super Bowls and being like a cornerstone starter of that secondary for that term, only being 27 years old. Um, he's from UC. I just think it makes sense. So he would be a guy that I think would definitely need to be a top of the list right there with Odafe Uwe. I just think that it would make sense for the Bengals to go get him.
Yeah, I feel like this one, like you said, it makes so much sense because he's went to UC, so he has those connections, and I'm pretty sure he has like the skyline of Cincinnati on his Twitter bio still.
Yeah.
So obviously, I don't know if that means anything, but he, has been tremendous. He was the fourth graded safety last year according to PFF, sixth in coverage. And like you said, he has that experience playing in big games, winning multiple Super Bowls, and he's heading into his second contract. So he's really going to be hitting his prime. And I think guys who are hitting their second contract are going to be guys that the Bengals definitely need to go after. And so I think Cook would fit right in. And I think that would, even if Caleb Downs falls to you in the draft, I think you still
I think you
it
still
does
do.
yeah, it doesn't take away from, drafting a safety still in the draft as well. So I think that would be a perfect player for the Bengals to bring in, especially because they led the most yards to tight ends last year, and safeties do a good job at eliminating tight ends along with linebackers. Um, I think Cook would definitely be a big help.
Hmm.
I'm also going to go with another Chiefs defender, and that's going to be linebacker Leo Chanel, another guy who is coming off his rookie deal and is going to be heading into a second contract. He's going to be a little bit cheaper. His projected salary is about 4.6 million per year, and I think he'll really bring. I think he'll bring veteran leadership to this linebacker room, which desperately needs it because we only have Barrett Carter and Demetrius Knight. And Al Golden said during the combine, he wants a linebacker that can play more on the edge at times
Hmm.
to let Demetrius Knight be, the prototypical Mike and Will linebacker. And so I think Chanel can definitely do that. He had a 76 run grade this past year, and he's been able to kind of Spags has been able to put him in specific positions and stuff. So he has played on the defensive line a few times, a decent amount throughout his career with Kansas City. I think he could just bring some versatility and experience to the linebacker room, which is desperately needed.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. He'd be great as well. Another guy, obviously on the defensive side of the ball, that I think would be kind of good. What do you think about John Franklin Myers from Denver? I think that could
Again,
be a decent pickup. I mean, he
I
is
think he's the best defensive
29.
tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be huge. I mean, he's 29 years old, so he is a veteran. And maybe we don't give him a 5-year deal, but I I think we're squarely in a position where we need to do whatever it takes to win right now. Like literally this fall, we need to win. So I think going out and getting a guy, I don't care how old he is, if he's still effective, get him on the team. Which 29 is not old. I'm just saying that it's, you know, he's going to be 30 this fall probably. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think he would be a great guy to bring in. He's 6'4", 288, so he's huge. He's pretty flexible on the interior. He's not super great like from an edge spot. But I mean, I don't think that if we can. I mean, if we go out and sign, like a Dafe Uwe, I don't think you're really looking at an edge. out of free agency, you know. So I think he would be huge on the interior because, dude, we can't stop the run. I mean, we can't do anything on defense, but I mean, first and foremost, you got to be able to stop the run. I mean, you can't let guys average like 5, 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. So you got to get a guy in there who's going to be, you know, a big dude that is flexible on the inside. He can play really any interior position on the field. And he's, like I said, he's a big dude. He had 7.5 sacks last year and he had 23 pressures. That's huge. That's enough. So I think he would be a really good guy. I mean, I don't know what his average salary is going to be. I would imagine he'd be more on the expensive side of things too, but I think he would be a huge pickup for a very, very weak defensive line.
Yeah, I mean he's looking at about 8 million per year is what the projection is, which was not too bad. And yeah, he had 7.5 sacks last year for a very productive Broncos team, who was one of the best defenses in the league. So I think he would him alongside B.J. Hill, and if they draft a defensive tackle in the draft, and see how Chris Jenkins does, and you still have T.J. Slayton in there. I think he would definitely be a big upgrade to the defensive line. Another defensive lineman that has some familiarity with the Bengals is DJ Reader. Bring him back on a
Mm-hmm.
1 year deal. He is over 30, but he was pretty reliable for the Lions, and was also I still think he was a pretty good player when he was still on the Bengals that last year, and so I think bringing him back just for a 1 year, he already is familiar with the system and everything, so I think he could be a good plug and play guy there. And then another linebacker that I think I have heard that the Bengals have had some interest in this guy from sources,
Mm-hmm.
but he is on the expensive side, and that's Devin Lloyd from the Jags.
Yeah. I
He's
had
projected
him
about 20
underlined.
mil. Yeah, he's projected about 20 million per year, so he would be a big splash guy for sure. But he's 27, spent 4 years with the Jags, and again, I think he kind of fits that guy on his second contract, and a guy who can come in and immediately add depth and impact to the linebacker room. He was the third highest graded linebacker according to PFF last season. He was 82.2 pass rush grade, which was fifth amongst linebackers. And he had an 83.2 run defense grade, which was 11th. So all of those check the boxes that we want to see for a guy at that linebacker spot. He had 43 tackles last year, and has really been the captain of that defense for the Jags for the last few seasons. So yes, he is a little bit more on the expensive side. So if you have him in OA, that might restrict what you can do, but that would be two big time players who can immediately make impacts, and then will also be still very good for the remainder of their contract, hopefully, because they're budding at the right time. So I think that would be another guy that they could possibly target.
So here's a guy that I think would be I think it would be interesting, and I think it would be doable, and I think it could be a fairly decent budget option. Maybe Joey Bosa, bringing him in. Uh, he's 31, so he's a little on the older side. Uh, he has only played 14 games over the past 2 seasons due to injuries. That's not great, but that could work in our favor because of that. That might lower his price a little bit because when he plays, he's pretty effective. I mean, and the Bills used him as more of a situational guy. Like he wasn't an every down starter, but he was effective in those situations. He averaged about 36 snaps per game. He had 5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 42 pressures. Um, that is, I think, decently effective. Um, I just think he's a guy that I think he could, like I said, I think it could be a budget option because I don't think he's going to be like an every down like dominant edge rusher. But I think that he could definitely be a very effective situational help. Also good probably for some of our younger edges to because he's a veteran at 31. he's been. I mean, he's Joey Bosa has been a very high level edge rusher throughout his career. When he was with the Chargers, um, and like I said, when he was on the Bills, I mean, he was effective for when he played. Only playing 14 games in 2 seasons, he still had decent numbers throughout 14 games. I mean, 5 sacks isn't super awesome, what you'd want to see, but 42 pressures. I mean, and with him averaging 36 snaps a game, I don't know. I just think that he could be a cheaper guy that we could definitely use situationally and just in the sense of bringing that veteran presence in. And he's played at a very high level in his career before. So I think he would be a good guy to kind of come in and maybe bring along and maybe mentor some of the younger edges that we have, like Miles Murphy and Shamar Stewart and guys like that. But yeah, I think Joey Bosa would be a good pickup for a cheaper price. I think he would. I think he's potentially still got some play left in him. So I think that he could be, a solid rotational situational edge guy to bring in.
Yeah, I agree. I have another Bearcat, also a safety.
Ooh, okay.
That's Kobe Bryant from the Super Bowl
Ah,
winning
yeah.
Seahawks. Obviously, if you watch the Super Bowl, the Seahawks defense was the main reason why they won. Kobe Bryant was a big factor
Mhm.
in the during for the Seahawks this season. He had 4 interceptions this past season. He has again. He fits the mold. He's 26, going into his second contract. The Seahawks are going to have to make some tough financial decisions, this offseason, so they might not be able to re-sign him. And I think if they can't get Cook, I think Bryant would be another guy. Again, Cincinnati ties.
Mhm.
Won the Thorpe Award during his time at Cincinnati. Was on that obviously that team that made the playoffs,
Yeah.
and
He's a
has been a
stud.
very productive player for Seattle, and has obviously he's coming off of a Super Bowl and coming off of
Mhm.
playing with an elite defensive coach and an elite defense. So I think again, he's a guy that you could plug and play at safety, and I think that will dramatically change the secondary.
I agree. I would love that pickup. I think that it's a similar situation to Brian Cook. I think that, they're both, like you said, they're both UC guys and both of them have been very effective where they've been at. So, I mean, I think, if they choose to, because Kobe Bryant, I think, is going to be probably cheaper than Brian Cook will be. So if they choose to maybe go make more of a splash at edge or something or linebacker, then maybe they could go pick up Turner or not Turner, Kobe Bryant, um, kind of in place of Brian Cook. Um, what do you think about Boy Mafi from the Seahawks, the edge?
Yeah, he's really good.
I think he could be a decent piece. He's another guy who's only 27.
Yeah, he's in like the OA kind of tier.
Yeah, so I think that, I like, I'm not really sure where his projected contract is gonna lie, but if they choose to not go the OA route, they could potentially get, this guy. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of the similar thing to what you said with, Kobe Bryant. I mean, this Seahawks defense was, like, stifling. These guys were really, really good, throughout the whole season, probably the best defense in the league. And he was a part of that on the up and the Seahawks they were really good, really solid across the board on defense, but I think a thing that really stuck out to me on their defense was their front, and he was a part of that. So, he's not like he's not the best edge on the market, but it could be another situation where maybe he'd be a little bit maybe more of a budget option. I don't know. But he's young, he's 27, so I think that he could be definitely a guy that could come in and 100% fill a huge role at edge, especially coming, like you said, similar situation with Kobe Bryant, playing for a great defensive coach and just coming off a Super Bowl. So um, I would love to have this guy.
Yeah, he's looking at about 12, a little over 12 million. So,
Okay.
um, I think he would be a little bit cheaper. And yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. He fits all those molds.
Hmm.
Um, Another guy that is kind of he would be in the same level as DJ Reader as a older D tackle that has been productive, and that's Javon Hargrave. I think you could sign him for a cheap deal. He had
Yep.
4 sacks last year for the Vikings, played for the 49ers for a while and the Eagles, so he's obviously been on a lot of really good defenses and good teams.
Hmm.
He is 33, so I know the Bengals don't really like signing older players, but I think he can still, as a rotational defensive tackle, I think he still has some juice and can be a cheap option there, and can help develop some of these younger defensive tackles. If they end up drafting one at 10 or somewhere in the draft, I think he's another guy that could come in and just be a rotational piece. He would be obviously a lesser free agent, but still a guy. I mean, at this point, majority of the free agents are upgrades. So
Yeah, 100%. They really are. So yeah, I agree. Um, I had, and I don't really know a lot about some of these guys, but I just had like three more guys that I had down that maybe would be interesting avenues to maybe explore more in. I don't know. But Alante Taylor, corner for the Saints. He's 27. In 4 seasons throughout his rookie deal, he had 4 picks, 40 pass breakups, and 7 sacks. So I think that's kind of the number that stuck out to me: 7 sacks from a corner spot. So I mean, obviously that
be
tells me
like a
he's a
Mike
versatile
Hilton.
player. Yeah, definitely a Mike Hilton situation. Like I said, that he's a versatile guy. I think Mike Hilton would be a really good composite or comparison for him. So I wouldn't mind going out and getting a guy like that, another Mike Hilton type of guy. I mean, a guy that could play, maybe some more slot corner because I don't know. I mean, I think Dax Hill kind of filled a slot corner role in a little bit last year, but I don't think it would hurt to just bring another guy in who's younger, um, and has he's a very versatile athlete at the corner position with 7 sacks. So I think he could be interesting. And yeah, I don't know what his market is on a per year basis, but I think he could be an interesting one to explore just with the versatility that he would bring to the corner spot. Um, Quay Walker for the Packers, maybe. Um, he, and I'm just going to read this. It says that Walker diagnoses the run game at a quicker rate in 2025, averaging 4.9 tackles on designed rushes per game. That is 11th in the league. And then obviously he had 2.5 sacks, 8 tackles for losses, and 4 pass breakups. That kind of tells me that he's a little bit more effective in the run game. And we need that. Like I said, I talked earlier about the tackle from the Broncos. We need to stop the run. We got to be able to stop the run. So I think that Quay Walker could be a guy that maybe you explore a little bit for kind of stiffen up your run defense. He's also only 26, so he's a younger guy as well. Well, I think both of those guys would be good pieces to bring in. Uh, Taylor for the versatility at corner, and then Walker just to help stiffen up the run game. And the Packers had a good defense this past season too, so I think those are two guys that would be pretty decent options to explore at the corner and linebacker position. Last guy, it ain't gonna happen. This is another dream scenario guy, and I'm just gonna throw it out there real quick. Zion Johnson, guard from Chargers. Uh, like I said, it ain't gonna happen, but I think that's just another dream scenario because the guards are kind of our weakest position on the line. Like I said earlier, our interior line's not super great. Our tackles are good. I think Ted Karras does a good job. Guards, it's not great. And I think Zion Johnson is, he's 26 years old. He's a younger guy. He was a first round pick just a couple years ago. He has a 90.7% pass block win rate. That's huge, especially for the Bengals who prefer to throw the ball a gajillion times a game. But yeah, I think Zion Johnson's a versatile guard. He's young, and obviously, as that percentage shows, he's a great pass blocker. And he's a guard. He would fill the interior hole there. So I think that, if you're looking at going out and getting some offensive linemen, which I think we should consider, interior offensive linemen, we've finally, in my opinion, I think we've finally fixed the tackle spot for the most part. It's really just the interior. So yeah, I think Zion Johnson would would be pretty cool. Like I said, it ain't gonna happen, but I think that he would be a guy that'd be pretty cool. I mean, he's young, he's versatile at the guard spot. I mean, he's kind of one of those guards who's pretty decent at both run and pass protection. So I don't know. I think he'd be a decent guy. But yeah, those were kind of the last three that I had written down there. But yeah.
Yeah, I think all of those would be good pickups. Yeah, I don't really have anybody else. All we ask is that the Bengals are aggressive and are active and just get impact players. It doesn't matter who they are, as long as they
Hmm.
can make an immediate impact and they go out and do what they did in 2021 and 2022 and just go out and sign a lot of guys. That's the only way that this team's going to be able to hit the goals that they want. And so we
I
just hope
agree.
that they're aggressive and that obviously, they make the right choices. But I
Yeah.
feel like we listed a pretty good handful of guys that we would like to
Yeah.
see. So I'm hoping that they do at least a few of them. So
Well, and I mean, the guys that we named, like, it's doable too. I mean, like, there was like, Linderbaum, there was a couple guys that I named where it's like, that ain't gonna happen. But like a vast majority of the guys that we just listed for 30 minutes are very realistic and very doable. So, I mean, and I think that, you go out and you go out and you pick up some of these guys, and then what does that do when April comes around? It puts you in the position to just take the best player that's available at pick 10. If that's Caleb Downs, great. I love Caleb Downs. If it's Ruben Bain, that would be awesome. He is a freaking monster. But I mean, really, no matter, I mean, Sonny Styles, if it's Sonny Styles, that'd be awesome. But I just think, that just opens you up to the draft. You take the best player available in the draft, and chances are one of those three guys that I just named are going to be there and would probably come in and immediately start for us, even if we did hit free agency. So I just think it just, if we actually are active in free agency, we spend money, we get off our butts, we hit in free agency like we did in 2021, it just opens us up to be, I mean, it just frees us up so much when the draft comes around. We can take the best player that's on the board, and it just ends up being another weapon for us. I think that that's really the route that you got to do, because we are not in a position where we have the luxury to build through the draft. We can't do that right now. I mean, we just can't, because we've wasted so many years sucking. We can't do that. We have to win right now, and that's going to be through free agency, and then taking the best player available at pick 10. So that's my thoughts on what the Bengals need to do in free agency. I am prepared to be disappointed though.
I wholeheartedly agree. Hopefully, we're here, sometime next week talking about them signing a few of these guys, or maybe, some other guys that we didn't list. But
Mhm.
uh, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did, and let us know in the comments if there's any guys that we missed or any guys you think the Bengals should be targeting in free agency here on Monday. So it's gonna be all from us. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you guys in the next one.